Welcome to Home Dad Chat, brought to you by the National At-Home Dad Network. My name is Brock,
My name is Danny.
and we are here to talk about life as stay-at-home dads. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
No, I don't want much. I even love handmade crafts made of macaroni. Come on now, you should know me. Times I might eat too much. No worry about my weight. Got the dad bod rocking on me. Sketches on my feet. Cargo shorts look good on me. I'm a dad, that's what I do.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the show. I am doing this thing single, kind of. I got a guest with me today, but Danny's got the stomach bug. He's got the plague. I sent him a funny meme earlier with the plague doctor. It was like, yeah, you keep that in your own house. I don't need that stuff here. So hopefully he gets to feeling better, and we'll have him back next week. But today, I have a guest with me. We're going to be talking about a really cool resource actually for young kids to learn how to write better. And I know that I have an 8-year-old, and so this is right up my alley with what's going on in my life. So I'm really excited to have Tom with us. Tom, I keep trying in my head to like get your last name right, and I believe you pronounce it Drenthe. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah, you got it, Brock.
Awesome. Well, hey, Tom, welcome to the show. Definitely, I know this has been a long-awaited thing. You've posted a few times in the Saturday self-promotion thread about this resource that you've built, and so I'm excited to have you on the show. How's life with you, and how kind of what's been going on over the past few months with you?
Oh well, Brock, life's been great actually. It's great. First of all, thanks for letting me be on the show, Danny. We miss you, man. I know that it's rough being sick, and not just being sick, but needing to take care of sick kids at the same time. So that always makes it for dad, any parent, just really, really tough. So
Yeah, that's a whole
hope you
nother
feel
level of
better.
parenting, isn't it? When you're sick and trying to take care of sick kids.
Yeah, life doesn't stop, and then it gets a little more chaotic because you have the kids that are sick too. So they're definitely extra needy, and you're more laid up. So
Yep.
definitely going opposite directions.
Definitely. But yeah, man, so you have been doing a lot of different things. For those who don't know you, and I just kind of want to give an opportunity for our listeners to get to know you personally before we kind of get into the meat and potatoes of what you've been working on here. But share a little bit about who you are, how you got connected with the National At Home Dad Network, and a little bit about your family.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. So, well, my name's Tom Drenthe. I live in Appleton, Wisconsin, northeast part of the state, with my wonderful wife Nicole. Got 3 amazing daughters, Emily Ann and Margaret. They're age 7, 9, and 10. I actually started being a stay-at-home dad. I'm coming up on 9 years next month, and it has been just the biggest blessing for my whole family, for myself, my relationship with my wife, also for the kids. It's just been amazing. It really gives an opportunity for the kids to have a better home lifestyle, for my wife and I not to have the stress of, someone running home to take care of sick kids, and just being able to just be with them every day, help nurture them, help them grow, and just having a nice family dynamic. The kind of interesting how we got into the home dad world. I had never grown up. My dad wasn't an at-home dad. I really didn't have too many friends that had an at-home dad, or even an at-home parent for that matter. And I never really saw myself in that boat. I was a working professional. I used to be in community and economic development for a chamber of commerce, running downtown organizations, and did a lot of different things like that. When we moved up here to Wisconsin, and we had 2 kids at the time. They were 10 months, 15 days apart. Interesting fact, our 2 oldest are 10 months, 15 days apart, so 6 weeks out of the year.
Wow.
They're the same age, not twins. So we had them in daycare earlier on, and it was always one of us leaving work to go pick them up, and it was stressful as can be, where we're trying to get them ready for school, or for daycare rather, run them out of the house. So we're making breakfast. The house is just trash and mess. We're picking them up at 5 o'clock. They're hungry as can be, so they're angry. We're getting home. We're cleaning up. We're making dinner, putting them to bed, and then going to sleep and just starting the same thing the next day again. So it was just very chaotic. So stepping out into that at home dad role really let us just focus on my wife, go to work, focus on building her career. I could really take the time with the girls to nurture and grow with them. And my wife could come home, we could have a clean house, dinner could be made, we could just have family time. And so it's been a really good fit like that. We've been doing that ever since. I actually homeschooled the girls from the beginning. Now I have enrolled in up here in Wisconsin, a really awesome charter school. It's a hybrid where they go and have a classroom component 2 days a week, and then we pick their home curriculum for them the other days a week,
Nice.
which is great. We just started that about a year ago. But we spend a lot of time out in parks, museums, just out in the community, just doing stuff. And I ended up after a while, just, I've done some every now and then. Like right now, I'm home every day, but I work a couple days a week at the YMCA part time, and I'm, in the morning open up, and it's just a lot of fun. A couple evenings here and there, but I wanted to do something that I could really, number one, show the kids how to launch a business. Also, I do a lot of curriculum stuff I create a lot of stuff for them. So I'm like, why not put these things together and start creating a piece of curriculum, a series of curriculum, show my kids how to use that to launch a business, and really kind of rock it out from there. And that's how we come into what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, no, and the things that you were talking about previously that like I can definitely relate to just the idea of, coming into being a stay-at-home dad, really just, kind of getting behind and supporting your spouse to like help them to flourish in their career and then just working with the kids. Like that's right along the lines of my story too. So sounds very similar. That's awesome, man. Um, when so you're at home, you're working with your kids. Like you said, you've done stuff through chamber, and in the community and things. What is the background to kind of getting things in place for what it is that you started up here with the Midwest Learning .com, like the whole idea of this, you're working to basically build up some different ways for kids to learn better about like writing sentences and paragraphs and things. Like where did all that come from?
Well, a lot of what I've seen as we were doing a lot of the homeschooling stuff and looking at a lot of curriculums was really understood that when it comes to teaching kids, simplifying things and more of a less is more can be a lot. So I wanted to, when I looked at a lot of the curriculums that were out there, so much of it was so darn complicated and so convoluted that it was written in a way that you almost had to be a professor to teach it. You look
Yeah.
at some of these lesson plans and they're so in detail, there's so much on there, and it doesn't need to be like that. Really, a lot of what we're trying to foster at home is a love of learning for the kids. Our girls really love learning. They love math, they love writing, they love researching, they love everything about school. And we did not want to rock that boat in any way.
Yeah, definitely.
So, I mean, like when my oldest daughter, when she was coming up to kindergarten, she was reading books like Charlotte's Web already. I had no interest in putting her in a kindergarten, having her learn her ABCs when she was reading books like Charlotte's Web already and could write all the letters. So really, that's when we kind of really decided like, hey, maybe we should try this home schooling route, really simplify things down for the girls, let them learn at their own pace. If they want to move faster at something, they can move faster at something. If they need to slow down, take a few extra weeks on something, they can slow down and take a few extra weeks on something. If a topic we were learning was stressful, well, just step away from it. Let's pull it out. Your brain will still process it in the background, and we'll pull it out later. So a lot of those thoughts went into Midwestern Learning was how do we make learning fun and engaging for kids so kids want to do the work and get a lot out of it at the same time.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, and I think that that is a very difficult thing when you're in a large classroom, public setting, or even private school, honestly, where you've got some kids who are picking it up really quickly and are advancing, and then others who are, maybe not picking it up so quickly and need more time to process it. So I've seen both of those with my kids. My son is a lot like your older daughter. Like in kindergarten, he was reading. Like he was way advanced for most kindergartners, and uh, he wasn't so much very good at the writing portion of things, but he could read really well. And so, it was like trying to get teachers to understand, like, hey, like he's advanced in this area, not in this area. So just kind of keep that in mind. And we've always had to look for like, or talk to teachers about the fact that we're like, you're gonna have to challenge him in these other areas, and then watch out for when he like goes above and beyond and then gets bored. And we've actually gone to parent teacher conferences before where they were like, yeah, so the problem that we have with Hezekiah is that he likes to sneak read. And we're like, what is that? And we're like, oh, he takes a book and he puts it in his desk, and when everybody else is done and he should be like kind of moving on to the next thing, like he pulls a book out and starts reading it. I'm like, I mean, I get it. It's not a bad thing, but it is a bad thing. Like, so it's one of those things like, do you want to stifle him in this? But at the same time, like I get it. Like there are things that need to be done. So you have things going on where, like you said, it seems like you understand like just sort of the process of the kids, and our kids are very similar. My oldest is 11, my youngest is 8. So this resource, I was looking it over earlier today just before we jumped on, and kind of getting an idea of some things. This is something that I was looking for a couple of years ago, and just I guess did never came across it, because when it comes to the summertime, when if your kids are not homeschooled and they're just off, but you want to have a way to get them to continue like feeding into them the things that they learn at school, this seems like the perfect piece that fits that puzzle for, all right, how do I fill that gap in between school, summer, and school? Is that also kind of part of what this resource is for?
Oh, absolutely. It's a huge thing for parents that either, if they need some for after school or especially in summertime, and it can really help kids in the summertime in a couple ways. If you have a child that you feel just really needs a little extra work, just leaving this out on the table somewhere or somewhere by their books where they can just grab it at any time and do it is absolutely great. For a child that maybe needs a little bit more of some inspiration to get started, even just 3 times a week, just, hey, we just want to make you a better writer this year. We want you to just do this stuff. I want you to, if you just give me 10 minutes a day, 3 times a week, we'll set a timer and just do that. That is a way to get it to work as well, too. So some kids are self-starters, some are not. That is a good way to do it.
Yeah.
One of those two options. Let them either have the free reign to do it, or just, hey, I just need to invest 10 minutes 3 times a week, and you're going to be that much ahead come next year.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more with that. And so I'm looking over this. If you go to midwesternlearning.com, which I'll have a link in the bio for this, it takes you to where you can see the cover, which is for sentence and paragraph primer for ages 6 through 8. So I went to the product and clicked on it. I see you've got a few different options for being able to acquire the materials. The one that hits with me really well is just the fact of being able to, download the PDF and print that off and just having those sheets available. But you also have like bound versions, maybe for somebody that's wanting to have that more just like kept book version that's available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. Kind of what was the idea behind having the 3 different options out there? I mean, it seems like most people would go for the downloaded version, but just kind of wanted to get an idea what
A
that
couple
was.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple things. Number one, the download version. Now, the download version is completely free on the website.
Right.
And we're writing this piece of curriculum field can really benefit children. And I don't want parents that maybe just aren't able to purchase a resource not to have a good resource for their children.
Yeah.
This was put together. If people want to download it and want to print it out and use it, it is there absolutely free for them. I do have it published through Amazon KDP as well as Barnes & Noble Press. And you can get a perfect bound on high quality paper printed off to you and sent to your house for $12.95.
Nice. It actually works really well. It's a it fits really well, and it's nice that you can get it bound and have that setup. So that's really great. So, like I said, this is an awesome resource. What has been sort of what's been the response from folks that have acquired it and are using it?
Well, I have, it's been great since I started doing this. I'm making sales every month. I'm getting good feedback from it, and I'm getting tons of people that are downloading it, for the free content. So I get more positive feedback that this is a fun resource for the kids. The kids enjoy doing it. It is engaging. It allows them to be creative. That's one of the neat things about this book too, is that the kids are doing the artwork in it as well, and they're writing about the artwork that they're doing. So it's not just about, hey, copy this down, write this down. It is about coming up with something creative and writing about something creative. And that is really neat, all in a format that goes through all the basics of sentences and then teaches kids how to organize a paragraph in a very simplified way. Because a lot of times sitting down to write a paragraph can be very cumbersome, can be very difficult sometimes, and seem a little overwhelming. And we use a method that's called word webs, where we'll write down right in the middle. You draw a big bubble on your paper in the middle and you write down what your topic is. Okay. And if you can, even write a topic sentence on it, such as trains are my favorite method of transportation. And then around it, you write 3 or 4 bubbles. And in those bubbles, you write a fact or something about trains. What do you like about them? And another one, you might write down what interests you about them, or how big are they, or how do they go. And in another bubble, you might put down some other interesting fact about engines or locomotives. And when you're writing a paragraph, then these are the topics for each sentence. The middle one is your topic sentence. You're putting that down. And you already have the key topic in each of your other pieces of your word web that are just sentences. So you're basically putting this together one piece at a time to get this beautifully written sentence. And a lot of parents are really resonating positively with that, and they really like that structure, and they're having their children use that structure even when they're just writing paragraphs at school.
Yeah.
And it's all laid out very well, exactly how to put them together. And in that free download, you can really see what it is. It lays out all the basic parts of it and puts it together. And the end goal is for kids to write beautifully written paragraphs on topics of their choices.
Yeah,
So yeah, a
definitely.
lot of good feedback.
Yeah, I love the fact that you get the nice breakdown and just the fact that you can kind of get those things out there and piece it together. I know that my son, he's in 5th grade and he's had to do some different book reports and things like that, and it was very difficult for a while getting him to understand how to like piece together a paragraph. And so he's gotten much better at it. I think that this summer, this will be a resource that I'll be using with my daughter to help her out because she's working on getting her sentences and things together, but there's definitely room to grow. And so uh, this is one thing that I will definitely be using. I love the fact too, like, you've got it built out just so like cleanly, and it's very easy to follow. I was looking through just the PDF itself, and yeah, I mean, that just the fact that, like you said, you can do some art, you got some writing in there, so there's a little bit of everything for kids to be able to grab into. Um, my kids are going to be excited just about this dragon holding his pencil. That that's their like search through. I'm like, oh man, they love dragons, so that'll be a big one for them. But no, I mean, it's great that that you've created this. I think that just from the standpoint of a lot of us stay-at-home dads and just stay-at-home parents in general, like we scramble so much to like find things like this that are like well put together, easy to present to our kids, and also too can just be a very laid back feature. Like you said, we're like, hey, it's here on the table. Like we're gonna take, you know, 15 minutes out of the day and just have a time to just, do something that's not screens, that's, not running around everywhere, and just concentrate on some kind of school activity. And I know that I tend to send my kids like, hey, like go read for 30 minutes or go draw for 30 minutes or something along those lines. And so to be able to sit them down and say, hey, like we're gonna work on this workbook for 30 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever it is, I'm very excited for that.
A couple things with being able to sit down for that. So you talked about the dragon one. A lot of these exercises in here are designed to really be fun for kids. Like, you got a gift card of $500 to your favorite store. What do you want to do with it? Or you have your friend is offered to do your least favorite chore for the day. We need to write out instructions for your friend on how to do this using time order words. And we
Nice.
talk about what those are. And all the instructions are written to the kids. There's also some teaching tips in here, and a lot about how you can use this resource for your kids. And there's information there, for example, with spelling. A lot of it, we want, let's use spelling for an example. There's tips in there saying, hey, these are kids ages 6 to 8, and it's about just writing and getting ideas down. And we want parents to be just more positive with their kids and pointing out their successes as opposed to pointing out areas where something can be improved. And a big one in there is spelling. Kids 6 to 8 are still, for the most part, learning to read.
Yep.
And to have a child that is still learning to read and are still sounding out things phonetically, it is not practical to ask them to always be spelling every word right. So a lot of what we're suggesting with these younger kids is let them just spell words the way that they phonetically hear them.
Yep.
Because we want them putting down the right word on their paper as opposed to substituting it with an easy to spell word. And a lot of writing is about getting ideas out. And this doesn't need to be a spelling curriculum. This is about writing and getting ideas out as opposed to now let's bring in every other language arts component into this book.
I like that.
It's about making writing fun, about being creative, about kids taking risk and writing about the things they want to, as opposed to, if I spelled the word vacuum wrong, mom and dad are going to say, hey, you spelled this word wrong. If they put VACUME and you just tell them, wow, that is a great sentence. Keeping it positive like that keeps kids wanting to learn. That's a lot of those issues over time work themselves out, and they will be learning those at school and other parts of curriculum. This is about getting those ideas down with learning those basics.
Yeah, I love that. I think the one thing that I would probably do just to kind of help with the spelling side of it, and not so much from a like standpoint of like, hey, you got this wrong, but like, just basically being able to write like the actual like correct spelling of it, and letting them see it, like so that when they read back through the sentence again, like they can see like, oh, like okay, that makes sense or whatever, just to give them that extra level of things. You don't have to point it out to them so much, but just there it is kind of deal.
Yeah, that's always a really good positive way to do it. Another way, if you're trying to develop spelling, is maybe focus on the words that the child has been formally taught or rules they've been formally taught, and not worrying about things they haven't been. I mean, having a child that's still learning to write the word country, and you're marking down, oh, here's how you spell sophisticated. that can sometimes make you feel overwhelming if you haven't built up to that. So exactly what you're saying, modeling those out, picking and choosing which ones are the right type of words to model would be very valuable, especially if you want to use it for that tool.
I tend to read to my kids at night before they go to bed, especially my youngest. My oldest, like he's off reading on his own, so like I don't really have to do much for him anymore in that fashion. But I remember back when I was reading to him, I'm really bad about when I read that sometimes like I can I can just on the fly I'll substitute a word out like kind of deal. And he's very good. He was very good at like he would follow along and be like, that's not that word. Like like to me, I'm like, oh, good job. I was just testing you. Like but in my head I know I'm like, no, I do that for whatever reason. It's just something in my brain when I'm reading out loud that happens from time to time. So but that's being able to have a kid that picks those things up, it shows the progress that they're making. So I love the fact that you've got that going on with all of this. I mean, is this something, have you had a chance being up there in Appleton and being around other parents, like to be able to share this with a lot of them one-on-one, or has it been mainly just people finding it online?
Both. People that live up here in the community that I know, different parents, homeschooling groups, the school that my kids go to. I've been able to share the resource with people on a one-on-one basis, and then a lot of it is the online side too. So I'm trying to build this from both. The other thing that I'm doing right now, I have one of these books out. I'm working on developing this into a series
Nice.
of books, like writing for kids that are 4 and 5. And kids that are 4 and 5 can't really write letters, but you know what? They can still get ideas down, even if it's squiggly lines. You might say something like, tell me what it's like to be a Jedi or something. And I don't know how to write. Well, that's okay. Just pretend to write. And they get take their pencil, make their marks. That is still writing, and that is them communicating their ideas. Also, for like a younger book, dictation is huge, where the kids can tell you the story using their beautifully chosen words, and you can write it down for them. So
Right.
I want to get those writing resources out for the younger ages, so that way the younger ages can practice word flow too. Same thing with older kids as well too. So I'm trying to make this in a series of 3 to 4 books. And I'll tell you, one of the you alluded on something really good, Brock, and that was about reading to kids. I'm a big person to read to my kids too. We're always reading some kind of chapter book or novel or something like that, and I'm reading it to them. And reading to kids at a level higher than their reading level really helps develop their language arts skills in
Yeah.
a very far manner, because that's where they hear sentence flow, sentence structure, a lot of cadence and style. So doing that on a regular basis helps your child read more than just teaching them a grammatical aspect.
That's one of my favorite things is definitely reading to my kids. I've been involved with radio and things back when I was younger, and I used to actually do some like audio acting type things. And so when reading to my kids, like I love to change my voice around for different characters so that they can understand or put like, emotion behind it. So like if someone's kind of sad or whatever, being able to put that in there, or if they're angry, like, kind of an angry tone while I'm like reading like their part. So the two book series that I've actually read to the kids kind of in that fashion are like Harry Potter, for instance, or Chronicles of Narnia, and like all the different books there. And so you get that idea of different changes and flows and things along those lines. So yeah, that's those are my kind of things that when I'm reading to them, I like to do. And what's really great about that, I've seen where actually now, like my oldest, for instance, like he understands that. So when he reads things out loud and when he's reading books, like I've seen him like change his you know, voice, and or not voice, but just like his way to, when someone's like really excited, you can hear that in his voice when he says it. Or he'll notice that like it had like an exclamation point. He's like, oh, like that's supposed to mean that someone's excited. So he'll go back and like read it with a little bit more excitement and keep going on. And he's like, oh, that makes more sense now. Why it is that's going on. So yeah, that's just something that I've really just kind of grabbed onto in my just fatherhood journey of things.
That's pretty awesome. And yeah, that's in doing that, reading to kids and just putting stuff out for them to be kind of hands on. That's what really creates that love of learning. And a lot of what is really good about a love of learning with kids is if the kids love learning at a younger age, they love reading, they love being read to, they like writing, they like doing math, they like researching things. Is you're setting them up for success at later ages, because they're going to want to do these things. They're going to be in the habit of doing these type of things. And that's why sometimes, and that's one of the reasons, one of the methodologies we're putting in here is what takes a 6-year-old, for example, or sorry, a 4-year-old a year to learn might take a 5-year-old a week to learn. It might take a 6-year-old an hour to learn.
Yeah,
So, understanding that their speed comes differently, and just having stuff out and letting them practice. They don't need to see what a topic sentence is and have that memorized today. They
definitely.
can just work and write, because they're going to be seeing the same thing year after year after year as they're going, and or week after week. And just letting them have fun doing stuff at a younger age is going to be the biggest gift you can do. And that's going to give them a love of learning.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm all for that too. The love of learning. That is, I think that a lot of times kids sometimes really struggle with finding that love for learning. And that's when things like they get bored, or they really start to like drift away from school and things like that. I was very I was not a huge fan of school growing up. I mean, my mom and dad actually was funny when I graduated high school. We're like, we're so happy that you graduated. We really were wondering if it was actually going to happen or not. And I'm like, dang, mom and dad, like, but I get it. Like I was constantly kind of just flying by the seat of my pants because I was just like begrudgingly doing it just so that I could graduate type of deal. And unfortunately, it took a little while in college to really grab hold of what I wanted to do as well. So getting it at a younger age and really getting that love for it is going to be a huge development in the positive column for kids. So very happy that this resource is out there and available and that we can share it with other people. So it's I I'm very glad. I thank you for taking the time to actually like put it together for everybody.
I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun putting it together. It was a lot of fun showing my kids how to do something like this, to lay out design work, to come out with ideas, how to launch a
Yeah.
business, how to explain what the Department of Revenue is and how to submit for a sales tax ID and be able to talk about these things. And that's been a lot of fun because now, like for example, my daughters are always throwing up business ideas
Oh
they
yeah.
want to do. I have my middle daughter has a distribution business idea for supporting manufacturing company. It's like they just get their ideas spinning. So
That's awesome.
that's actually a resource I want to put down as maybe how can a child, because they're always coming up with the most creative ideas for businesses, how to capture those
Yeah.
ideas, how to write them down, and learn some basics about that stuff. So when you get older, there's kids that are 12, 13 years old that put together
Yep.
businesses to have some fun. So that's an idea I have spinning it around too.
Oh,
And it's just
definitely.
having different ways for kids to get their creative outlets out.
Yeah, I remember meeting Jeff Bogle. So some people that listen to this show might know who he is. He is a writer and photographer, part of the Dad 2.0 Summit group. He's been a dad blogger for years. I remember when I met him, he was telling me about his daughters. They were like 12 and 13 at the time. And one of them was huge into fashion. And it was interesting because he had so many connections from traveling that he was able to like work with her on going like they went on a trip one time to Italy and they got connected with a fabric like this it was like a department store or something that had like lots of different pieces of fabric but they also had like tons of sample fabric and she was using small bits of fabric to make jewelry with like earrings and necklaces and things like that and they went to Italy, they met this guy and they were telling him about it. And he was so just like awestruck by this young person's entrepreneurial skills and like just excitement for fashion that he was like, come with me. And they went like through the store, like through the back of the store, went upstairs and took them to this room where all of like the different like samples that get sent to them, like, hey, like buy our stuff kind of deal. He had all of these squares and just let them take as much as she wanted to take to turn into jewelry for her thing. And it was like, it was just really cool to like see somebody who's like, this is my vision, and then connect with somebody else who sees that vision and then is able to like help them like launch even further ahead than what they were at. And that's very much like what you're talking about. Your kids are seeing what you're doing and they're just continuing to build on that and that's really exciting because that just they see that they have possibilities to reach out to.
Yeah, sometimes that those just being experience can really help you just find a passion somewhere.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, so I'm going to switch gears just a little bit before we have to go. So you've been around the National At Home Dad Network. I'm just curious, like how many conventions have you been able to go to in the 9 years that you've been an at home dad?
Well, two. I've been able to do two of them, and I actually didn't find out about the At Home Dad Network until Minnesota. I was not even
Okay.
familiar with it. My wife had actually found that and got me set up to go to this conference. I had no idea about this group, and this group, the National At Home Dad Network. It's amazing. It's just there's some amazing fathers that are all trying to be the best dads and that they can be for their
Yeah.
kids. And it's just a collective group for people to come together with a lot of shared visions, a lot of shared goals, and a lot of stories that we can all learn from each other.
Yeah.
So it's been a fantastic group.
That's awesome. And when you're not wrangling three girls as the girl dad and everything like that, what kind of things do you like to do for fun for yourself?
Oh, so I have a lot of different things. First of all, sometimes it's just nice to just step off and go to like a coffee shop and just read a book and just have some coffee to have some dad time. My wife will even encourage us like, get out of here, go to local place like Copper Rock or something, just hang out, have some dad time. I'd like to exercise, like run or walk. That's a lot of fun. I like to just be outside. Nature is a lot of
Yeah.
fun. And I love doing things with my kids or with my wife. So those things really keep me very motivated to keep doing what I want to do, is doing things with my wife and my kids, or just stepping away, just kind of unwinding for a little while and finding somebody, whether it's going to see a movie, whether it's going to sit at a coffee shop, go and hit some of my favorite stores, something like that. And it's really nice because my wife really encouraged me to take that time, and and it just really helps me stay intrinsically motivated to be a good father.
That's awesome. Yeah, definitely. And that's so important too, to be able to have that time to be able to build back into yourself and just enjoy some things that are not connected with kids. So that's that kind of keeps I guess I feel like it keeps people, especially dads, grounded a little bit more in that way. So that's awesome, man, that you've got that ability to do that.
Yeah, and another place that keeps me very motivated. I'm a very community minded person, so I've done a lot of community volunteering over the time. Before I had kids, I mean, I was on different boards. I'd take on officer type roles. I would just do a lot of things to help grow local community. When the kids got when we had kids, had to step outside of some of those, and now I'm trying to instill those values in them, that you're trying to help out your fellow community members. And as the kids are getting older, I'm finding other ways to get back into local community and helping the community grow as well. And I
Yeah,
think that seeing that you can impact not just your local family, but also helping grow your community at the same time, and some kind of leadership type role or volunteering type role, that really helps, I think, with staying grounded and making you feel like you're adding value in your home as well as outside your home.
true. And also, I feel like you get a lot of dads who ask like, "Well, what do I do with how do I when the kids are in school full time and maybe I'm looking to get like a part-time job or something, like how do I explain or what do I do to like get hired at some place?" And for me, like it's always been like if you can volunteer and keep track of that, like just a list of the things that you're doing and then use that to build a resume. Employers look at that stuff. They that's actually, that's more viable now than it ever has been before as a way to show like, hey, like, yeah, I didn't work at a job where I was getting paid to do things, but I was, giving back to the community and I was doing these things and I learned how to do that, all this stuff. So yeah, love that, man.
And early in my career, I used to spend a lot of time, and this can be very valuable for dads that are getting back into it as well. I used to spend a lot of time. I used to get invited to Iowa State University when we lived out names all the time to talk to the younger classes from my role as the director of our downtown organization about how to better themselves professionally, academically, from a community standpoint. And being, like you said, the volunteer work, that stuff for the resume, there's a lot of ways that you can add specific skills, even in addition to just volunteering, for your resume, and ways to make yourself ready to go back into a part-time role, or maybe at some point if you're going back into a full-time role. And number one would be doing volunteering is great. Number two, if you're able to take on some kind of board position or leadership position, that's where all of a sudden now you have the potential to take on some serious projects that allow you to use specific skills, develop skills, and reach out for certain goals.
Yep.
Like maybe you're sitting down on a local food pantry, and hey, I got this great idea. Let's do a marketing strategic plan. You have a great idea to help the organization from a strategic planning point of view, to learn about strategic planning and be able to fine tune those skills. And that's something you can talk about
Yeah.
on your resume. So doing those things and taking on specific projects will really help you with those skills, as well as any kind of advanced education. Those are showing your employers that, hey, I have been a stay-at-home father and doing things to help out my family. And I've also been preparing myself to enter the workforce by building skills, refining skills, helping community, and learning something new. And
Definitely.
right there, you've already differentiated yourself from other candidates because you have, that's my dog barking, of course.
You're fine.
Because, someone walked by. She's a sweet dog. She's like a 16-year-old, and she gets like so angry, and she just kind of does her own thing.
All good.
Yeah, doing those things can really just add the skills, and it would help separate you from the other candidates because number one, you have a different story to tell.
Yep.
Number two, you've been doing some things and adding some actual experiences, doing some major projects that maybe a lot of other candidates don't have. And you found ways to be creative, finding creative projects to do. And all these boards, all these organizations, they need this stuff done. They need volunteers to step up and do it. So they're usually your local nonprofits are great places to propose projects, do projects, and staple them to a resume too.
Yep.
And better community at the same time.
Oh, definitely. I would agree with that. And also too, like that's one of the reasons why at the National At-Home Dad Network, we're always asking for volunteers for different things, because it is a great way to be able to put on there like, hey, like I volunteered with a national nonprofit to, do marketing, or, we have so many different things that you can get involved in that, that's why we always are preaching that, like, hey, like if you've got a skill, like don't hide it. Like bring it out. We want to be able to, help you to be able to use it and continue on with the things that you like, that also then benefit the organization as a whole. So completely agree with that. Well, hey, Tom, we're up against the wall on time. I really appreciate getting the chance to speak with you. I am very excited to share this resource out with everybody else. And honestly, I think that even those outside of the organization are going to find this to be very helpful. I will have links in the show notes for where folks can find the book, which is going to be at midwesternlearning.com. And I look forward to seeing the next pieces that you're looking to put together there, as for like the series that you're talking about. And so we'll definitely be keeping in touch and keeping an eye on that, so that we can make sure that that also gets put out there when those become available.
Oh, Brock, I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun being on the show today. Huge supporter of the podcast, and it's great to seeing the show do so well. And I was really glad that I was invited to be a part of it.
Awesome.
And definitely everybody check out midwesternlearning.com. Sign up to subscribe for information. At some point, I haven't done this yet, but I want to create a newsletter at some point soon, possibly in the summer. You can get updates, information about when those new books are out. So yeah, feel free to sign up, and information is just going to be private with my company, midwesternlearning.com. It's not shared anywhere else. It'd be just for direct communications.
That's great. That's great. Well, hey, thanks everybody for listening to the show, and we will talk to you next week. Have a good one.
I'm a dad, that's what I do.